Hello, I'm Doug, and this is the Taste and Sensibility channel. And you have stumbled into episode 5 of Christmas wine tastings for 2022. So I'm here celebrating Christmas and celebrating God's gift of wine to the whole world. And I'm doing this by focusing a lot on 3 countries, which are Argentina, Australia, and Spain. I have a Cabernet Sauvignon from each country, and they've been poured. I've taken the temperature and the pH of each one of these, and I think I'm ready to dive in to smell and taste and check the color, if I remember. So, no need to delay. So I'm going to go right into the color of this thing. Wow, it's a bit more purpley than previous. Well, I only had one red before, as Merlot. Well, it's in between a garnet, yeah, it's in between a ruby and a purple, I think. Now, this is the Argentine wine from Catena, a good producer. It's from the early 20th century. And this is from the Mendoza region, and we have a 13.5% ABV on this. So the color is just kind of a medium ruby, in between ruby and purple, I'd say. So I don't know colors, I'm still learning all this stuff. So let's get on to the nose. Some kind of fruit, but it's really vague. Some kind of berry and a plummy. Could be blackberry if it's a little tart, and it could be raspberry if it's a little sweet. Maybe a black raspberry, I don't know. It's fruity and berry-like. So, am I getting anything else? Maybe an old log, wood, earthy area outside. A little musty. So fruit part is on the fresh end of the scale, and there's some older, maybe it has to do with oak or aging or wood. Can't quite nail it down as baking spices or any kind of food. Earthiness might be the best thing I can come up with, but that's real vague and squishy. Let's taste. Okay, that is fruity. I'm getting more raspberry and plum than blackberry or other things. There's a little bit of tannins from skins or oak from the mid-palate on, and it is a bright, fresh, fruity flavor. There's a little bit of acidity, but it doesn't really poke out. It's integrated pretty well with the fruit. So I'm surprised it's not more blackberry. I've tasted all these at least once, and maybe a couple of them twice. So I thought I was familiar, but I don't really have favorites or have strong enough preferences to worry about any of that stuff. So that's why I'm not doing any of this blind. So it's fruity. It's more red berries than blackberry, and boy, not much sweetness there. Just enough to make you think of fruit, but it is way to the dry side. I'm gonna make a few notes here. So I'm saying medium tannins, low acidity, and kind of a medium body. I guess that's the biggest surprise I've been getting from the Cab tasting I've been doing compared to other reds, Merlot, Pinot Noir. So I thought their Cabs were always going to be bigger, bolder, giant flavors, and I'm not experiencing that for the most part. every kind of grape can vary a lot. And I'm finding a bigger tasting spectrum, bigger spectrum of flavors on the white wines than I have been on the reds. So probably just haven't had enough yet. So this is pleasant, competent, delicious, fruity. Would go with the usual red wine foods. But I'm surprised it's not more blackberry. It is raspberry, cranberry, plum, and a nice aroma that pretty much goes with that, and a little bit of tannins from something, and at least the skins, and maybe some oak. Okay, a little cleanse. Oh, I forgot my oyster crackers. So water will have to do. And now we're moving on to an Australian wine from Margaret River, which is an interesting place. And this is called Snake and Herring. Snake plus Herring is maybe a brand in Dirty Boots. 2018 Dirty Boots Cabernet Sauvignon. Margaret River is an interesting, big, thick peninsula that sticks out a little bit on the western edge of Australia out into the ocean. So it's surrounded on three sides by water. And it has an interesting climate that's not like any place else. Now, first we do color, I remember. And this is deep ruby. I can see through it at the edges. And it's not as purple as the first one in this view. And interesting, a little different in color. On the nose, again, I'm getting dark fruits, berry-like things. This one has more blackberry, I think. Still a vague plumminess and vague red berry things. Could be raspberry. So, I like the nose. This is promising. Let's go for it. Wow. Similar, but a little different fruit mixture. I'm getting a little more tartness maybe. And maybe less tannins. So I don't think Snake and Herring is a real location, a vineyard, a family, an estate or anything. I think they just run around and get grapes and have wine made for them, for their branding. But I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. Yeah, the back of the bottle doesn't really tell me all that much about it, but I think it's mostly marketing and not a place. But this is pretty interesting. It's medium-bodied, as usual. As I'm letting this last sip finish, it is getting a little grippier on my palate. So maybe the tannins are there, they just show up at the end. Let's do that again. Okay, inhaling that time on that sip, give me some blackberry notes. There's raspberry, maybe. Yeah, I don't think the cranberry is there like this one, which surprised me a little bit. So it's berries and plum, and I like it, and I think there's less tannins, and they come later than this first thing did, so that's interesting. So I don't really know how to distinguish between skin tannins and oak tannins, and maybe you can't. So I'm used to tasting oak in the bitterness and tannins at the finish of a whiskey, and not sure what I'm looking for. I know the feeling, I know the theme, but I'm not sure I know the source. I know the effect on my tongue and other mouth parts, but I'm wondering if you can distinguish the source. So this ABV is a bit higher, 14.5 versus 13.5 for this one, and that seems consistent. It's just a little bit more heat on the back of my throat. which is not anything like whiskey. It's it's not less than half. So it is nice. It's fruity. There's something like that age and earthiness note that I got on the nose. There's just a hint of something at the back, mid-palate on, through the finish, that's suggesting some kind of age. What have we got here for the vintage? Is 2017. Okay, that's a ways back. And then this is 2018, I think. Both of these are 2018. So I think they age it for a while in their cellar before they release it. White wines usually come out same year or two is the usual age I see on those, and then the reds end up being 4, 5, 6, 8, or even more. I've got a 2014 of some blend. So this is a nice palette, and it's a little bit different from the Argentine version. So those are both Southern Hemisphere things. So that's pretty interesting. So very similar, slight differences, and maybe someone else could do better. Almost certainly someone else could do better getting some notes and distinguishing those two. But you're stuck with me for the moment. Now, moving to Spain. This one's called Honoro Vera. Maybe it's like honoring truth. I don't know what that means. From Jumilla, which is a DO, a denomination of origin that I'm not that familiar with. But it's from Jumilla. And it's a 2018 vintage with the 14.5% ABV. Red wine. Oh, Gil Family Estates. I think it's like Juan Gil, G-I-L, Estates or a winemaker or something like that. So it might be a real place. It might be an estate and a vineyard, a farm, a winery. So I'm sure Catena is also in Argentina. So let's do color first. So this is maybe the lightest one of the bunch. I'm seeing a little more see-through, not just at the edges. You can almost see through it in the middle. But so it's the lightest color. And that's a ruby, I think. Way more than a purple. Yep, ruby. Garnety at the edges. And not as dark as these two, I don't think. Oh, wow. Nose is different. Nose is different. Fruitiness is jumping out of the glass almost. Blackberry, raspberry, cranberry, black plum, and a few other aromas I recognize them. I can't say what they are right now. There aren't words for something familiar. Interesting. Wow, that's quite a difference. I think this is the cheapest one too. I don't remember all the prices. It's like $20. This is like $25, and this might be $8.99 or $6.99. I don't know. So this is a wild nose. Complexity and extra stuff I did not get on these. It'll all be on the screen. I just don't know it off the top of my head. I have receipts. I have records. Oh, I like that. That is so good. Okay, I'm going to want to taste that. Wow. Fruity, a little fresher. Not really getting much in the way of acidity or tannins. Is there any tannins? I don't really detect the acidity. It's so well integrated into the fruitiness. I mean, it's a mixture of blackberry, plum, raspberry things, strawberry things, maybe some kind of melon. There's a lot going on there. Palate and nose. So that is pleasant. That's wonderful. I don't know if it's just that year, that region, but this is striking me as a tad more interesting to my palate, to my preferences, than these two were. And I know this is pretty highly regarded. They do lots of stuff, mostly Malbec, but their cabs are pretty good and highly thought of. This one, I'm impressed. It's the fruitiest and the freshest of the three to my palate today. So that is wild how all these things are so different and made from the same grape variety, but in different parts of the world. Northern Hemisphere, Old World plantings and Old World techniques, probably. Maybe some newer technology in there. But this is a winemaking family and estate, and this is a winemaking family and estate. And I'm sure they're doing what they're always done to the best way they can. So I'm voting for this guy today. It's very good. So I think that'll wrap up this episode. And today's verse about wine is from Joel 2. The Lord answered and said to his people, Behold, I am sending to you grain, wine, and oil, and you will be satisfied. So we're going to have a couple more episodes focusing on red blends from these three countries. But before that, we might do some of the unique or distinctive wines from each country, not try to do the same kind of grape from everywhere, but show off one of their more distinctive grapes that they grow there. So come back for all that, and Merry Christmas. Favorite.